Hello and welcome to another edition of the Front Page. My name is Andrew McKeever, the managing editor of the Manchester Journal, and I'll be your host today. Today it's my pleasure to have with us here in the studios of GNAT TV Mr. Jim Beckwith, who is the acting president of Southern Vermont College down in Bennington. Jim, welcome to GNAT.
Thank you, Andrew. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great to have you with us today.
Yeah.
Jim is taking over the reins at Southern Vermont College while Karen Gross is down in Washington, D.C., working as a senior policy advisor with the Department of Education.
That's correct.
And she'll be back in the big office down there in next January 2013. But until then, Jim's going to be the man calling the shots down there. And Jim, it's great to have you with us. As many of you know, Southern Vermont College was founded in 1926 in Bennington. It was originally located in downtown Bennington, moved to its current location on the outskirts of town, I guess you could say, at the Everett Mansion on the foothills of Mount Anthony.
There you go.
In 1974, and it's been there since then, and that's when it was also renamed Southern Vermont College. Those of you of a certain age, like I am, I remember it as St. Joe's, but it's been SVC for a while now. Well, Jim, great to have you with us, and just to kind of get us started, tell us a little bit about Southern Vermont College. You know, it's been around for a while, people are familiar with it, but maybe not everyone knows how many students are enrolled there, how many majors you offer, so tell us a little bit about the school.
Surely. Let's start with where we are and how we got there. As you said, it was started a long time ago at St. Joseph's College. It was a two-year business school, basically. Morphed itself into a four-year institution in 1974 when it became Southern Vermont College. And since then, it's been growing. It's had its ups and downs, as many people in the area know. Right now, we're looking at our current class coming in the fall will put us close to 600 students. When Karen and I started 5 years ago, we were about 318 students, so we've almost doubled the population in that 5 to 6 year time frame. Part of that, the ability to do that, obviously, is we've transferred the institution from what we would call a true commuter college to a residential college. With the building of Hunter Hall 3 years ago, it allowed us to increase our on-campus housing to just under 350 students. So that is where the genesis came on being able to grow the institution. We really transferred from a commuter college into a residential college. The institution is centered around a couple of core majors. Healthcare is very large for us, and healthcare is broad. It includes nursing, radiology, technology, and also healthcare management. Our nursing program is a phenomenal program, as is RadTech. They are probably one of the two premier programs around in the state of Vermont.
Radiological technology?
Radiology technology. It's a program it's a four-year program. It's really science and technology based, and it's a great program. And we have, because of one of the cores is because of where we are located and because of our health care, we have an unbelievable relationship with Southwestern Medical Hospital. I mean, it's just, with the synergy over the years has gone back and forth there on helping us to design our programs, us giving them workforce. I mean, for many, many years, they've had the first choice of, the graduating nurses or RadTech students coming out. So there's that. The rest of our program centered around business. Criminal justice is very big for us. And criminal justice is very broad. Not only do we have students that go into the police force or the state police, but also into social services and things like that. So our goal is to design programs that allow students to get jobs. Yes, we have 10% or so that go on and continue their education, masters or other types of degrees, but our core is getting students out in 4 years, getting them into the workforce and having them become a good part of society. And the last graduating class, 82% of the students that graduated had jobs the day they left school.
Wow.
So from our standpoint, that's what we do well.
Right.
And we can get them out there. We have a unbelievable synergy with the local businesses in Bennington, particularly on our internships. We require all students to do what we call practicum, which is go down into the community, work at a business as part of their major. You know, a lot of people treat it as internships, free labor. So the idea is, and that allows the town, the businesses to get to know the students to get to know the businesses, and consequently, a lot of students that never in their life thought that they would stay in Vermont because of where they're from, they end up staying because they love the state, they love the town, they become comfortable. Our student population over the years has broadened, it has expanded. We're only now about 30% of our student population comes from the state of Vermont.
Oh, okay.
The tri-state area still is our big core, meaning Massachusetts, Vermont, and New York, particularly where we're located, you know, the Golden Triangle down in Bennington. But we've also expanded out into a much broader area. We have a large contingency from the state of California, 30 to 35 students right now, and that is because of our sports programs. We have an unbelievable women's volleyball and men's volleyball program, and 90% of those students who play are from the state of California.
Well, that must be culture shock for them when they arrive here in Bennington? Or?
It is, but you know, they love it. I mean, it's what they do is they take the opportunity to come to the East Coast to go to school to see another part of the country. And so they spend their 4 years out here. Last year we were down in Boston at a volleyball match, and it was when we had that freak snowstorm. And coming back, there were 8 girls on the van that had never in their life seen snow. So we had to stop to have a snowball fight because they wanted to know what this white stuff was.
Well, what percentage of your students come from Bennington County or really local in this area?
It's not a great percentage. It's only about 10 or 12%. And then, you know, we get a lot of the students. I think a lot of times it's like, if you look at the student population, when a few years ago when the economy was bad, we actually had a lot more students that stayed local. You know, they lived at home to save money, and they went to school. But it's really like anywhere that kids don't necessarily want to go to school in their backyard. They want to have a different experience. They want to see a different part of the country. They want to get out. They want to expand. So while we get a decent part from the state of Vermont, we don't get a real great, of that 30%, a good portion of it is really from the mid-Vermont up. And those are the students that want to stay in the state, but, you know, they're coming down to the southern part of the state.
Okay. So you were saying a moment ago that workforce training or workforce involvement is a big part of, or it sounds like a big part of your mission there. I mean, do you have a lot of connections with local businesses? And speaking of which, I think you mentioned before we went on the air that you've also opened up a new facility down at the old Holden Leonard Mill on
we have.
Depot Street there.
What we have tried over the past 4 or 5 years to increase our presence with the town of Bennington. We want to become part of the town. We don't want to be the college up on the hill that people turn around and look at. We want to be integrated. We want to be part of. Part of what we've been able to do is we took over in the old mill property on Benmont a little over 10,000 square feet that allowed us to move and consolidate our healthcare education center. And that's the 3 that we talked about: nursing, radiology, technology, and healthcare management. We've recreated 5 classrooms down there, 2 of them very large, 80-plus students to be able to go into. We've moved all the offices associated with it, so there's 8 faculty offices that were created down in the space. We had created in the basement of Hunter Hall a simulation lab for nursing, and the simulation lab is where the students can practice on what are actually they're mannequins, but they're live mannequins. You can make them talk, you can make them sit up, you can make them move, so it becomes very interactive. You know, if they don't like where you're sticking them, they let you know. We've moved that out of there and recreated it in the space. We've also recreated what's known as a skills lab, where the first-year students really learn the basics, you know, giving blood pressure, you know, taking blood, things like, you know, the very basics that everybody needs to learn on day 1. Our students were going over to North Adams Hospital to do their skills over there, so they were driving a long way to do this. we wanted to consolidate it. So we had classes that were at Bennington Center for the Arts for a while. Our nursing classes were over there. We had offices in Everett Mansion. We had a simulation lab in Hunter Hall. We had a skills lab over in North Adams. We consolidated all those into one space in downtown. Now, for us, what that does is not only does it give us a presence in downtown, which is very important to us, we took over a space down there. It also is going to put each and every day somewhere between 150 to 200 students in the downtown area. Those kids, they've got to eat. They're going to go out. I mean, so it's an economic generator as far as we're concerned into the downtown area. And that's what we like.
Sure.
You know, we want to be able to put value back into the town. We want our students to go downtown. We don't have a lot of the services on campus. We have some very good dorms. You know, we have a dining hall. But, you know, we don't have a big student center, which like a lot of schools have. We have nighttime food, but, you know, the students would rather go down into the town and get their Domino's pizza or something like that. So that's where we're looking to be able to have the synergy with the town.
Right. Well, I asked because that whole question around workforce development is one that's kind of bubbled up a little bit in connection with colleges. A lot of our articles I've been reading lately out in the media seem to indicate that the whole model of the traditional four-year college, I won't say it's come to some questioning, but the whole idea of it being a mechanism whereby you get from the school into the workforce has come under some scrutiny, I think, in part because of the cost of going to college and the fact that so many students are coming out with, you know, massive amounts of loan debt that, unless they become doctors or lawyers or high-paying professional, or you do the math and you start thinking, well, you'll be 65 years old before you finally retire this debt.
I mean, they always say it's a mortgage without a house.
Right. So I think the fact that you seem to be very linked into the whole idea of providing students with jobs right out of school, diploma in hand, is a pretty compelling model for a lot of
it is, and it is our mission. It's what we do. It's not for everybody, but it is what we can do, and we are extremely affordable as it goes for four-year institutions. I mean, our tuition, room, and board right now, without any aid, without any discounting, is just over $30,000. And so that is, if you look around the area, it is extremely competitive with the state schools in Vermont. So, and that's what we try to compete with. You know, we're not going to be an elite school. We don't want to be an elite school. You know, we've got Bennington, we've got Williams, we've got Middlebury. They do really well at what they do. That's not who we are.
Right.
You know, our population that comes to our school, this incoming class, about 80% of them are first-time, first-generation students. So that means none of their parents ever attended a college before or a higher institution. Over 50% of our students right now are Pell eligible, which means they come from the low-income side of the spectrum. So that's our student population. That's our student body. And those are the ones that really need to get jobs when they get out, because they don't have the family back, you know, economic generator behind them to help them get through the loans or to help them get through what they need, you know, when they're in school. You know.
Sure. I was wondering, what percentage of your student body could be called like adult learners or adult education? Do you have a lot of students
We don't.
who are
we're
over 30?
We're pretty much a traditional 18 to 24 population. We do have a good handful of adult learners, mainly in the healthcare area. We have a lot of nurses from the hospital will come back and continue their education. We have what's known as a completer course, where a lot of nursing will end up with their associate's degrees, okay? And then they can go into the workforce and they can work, and they want to complete their education. They want to get their bachelor's degree in nursing. We offer that completer, and that's where we get a lot of adult educators coming back. Not only where our students go through, but people that have been out maybe 4, 5, 6 years because they want to move within the hospital, they want to go into administration, so they need to go from that associate's degrees to the bachelor's degree, and that's where we're seeing them come back.
Okay. Now, one of the other big trends I've been noticing or reading a little bit more about in higher education is this whole question of online education, and I know that you folks already have a presence in that. That seems to be a really intriguing new thing that has come along in the college and university picture that may have the potential, underscore may, of attacking this question of costs and accessibility for students. So I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about what you're currently doing in that area and what your thoughts are on where you see that going forward.
Look, I think that technology is going to be a huge factor in education. I mean, just over the past 5 years, you can see how dramatically technology has changed, how education is delivered, how the students receive it, how technology in the classroom has changed. The online scenario, for us in particular, and we may be a little bit different than the rest of the world, online will be part of this, but it will be supplemental to our in-class. We do right now about 10% of our curriculum is delivered online. Mm-hmm. We may extend that a little bit, but online will never, for us, will never replace our in-class type of delivery because of who our student population is. They need to have the interaction with the faculty member. They need to have the interaction with the other students in the classroom. So for us, online, we use it, if you want to look at it, how it can supplement a program for our nursing in particular. For your first 3 years where you're at SVC, basically there's no online classes in nursing. When you go from the associates to the bachelor's, about 90% of your coursework at that point is online. And that's a byproduct of you need to work. You're out in the workforce. You want to log on at 10 o'clock at night and take your course, you can do that. Right. So it's, you know, for different institutions are going to get a different result. Now, there's, as you know, there's been some of the very elite colleges who have opened up into this, what they call massive online course component, and it's huge.
Right.
And it's
MOOC, I believe, is the acronym there.
And it's an open source technology. They have not translated it into for credit yet, but you could log on and you could get some of the, you know, take courses from some of the biggest names out there, you know, at these schools. When and if that translates itself into the ability for schools like us to use that platform is when I think you'll see it. Because the problem is to really do an online program correctly and to do it well, it's extremely costly. You got to have not only the infrastructure to be able to offer it out, but you have to educate your faculty. Teaching online is totally different than teaching in a classroom. You don't have the same methodology of being able to convey information. You don't have the ability to sit here and talk. You know, it's a one-sided event for most of the time. So that's, a lot of people can't do that. A lot of faculty weren't trained to do it. So you have to bring in, you know, we call it best practices. You got to bring in the people to be able to sit there and help them start and figure it out. We use a program called Moodle, which is an open source online program. It's a course management program, and that's how we do a lot of our offering. We also do what we call low residency programs, which are very big in the summertime, where a student meets the first and the last day with the professor. So actually they get a little interaction, they get to understand what's required of them, what they need to do, and then the rest of it's online. And then their final presentation or whatever it is done in person. So, you know, they can't hide all summer. They got to show up every now and then. So that's the idea there. And it helps us moderate what we do. It helps us interact with the students. Because like I said, for our student population, that interaction is really, really important.
Well, it seems like you have to be very motivated also. And the online idea, I don't think, is a panacea for those who think, oh, well, this would be an easy way to kind of get a degree or something like that. It really, I think, would require a lot more motivation and discipline than maybe going to a typical four-year program.
It is.
Like
I mean, I think online has a huge potential for all kind of segments of the population. I mean, my controller at Southern Vermont College, he just got his MBA online. You know, Jim would stay late at night and he would log on and he would do his work. You know, the adult educator, people that want to go back and get retrained, people that want to just take some courses. I have done it. I was a math major in college, and every now and then I log on to some place and take some courses. But that is just it's for the idea of learning. It's not for the idea of a student who's going from high school trying to get into college, trying to get into the workforce. So.
And as you said earlier, it's not for you wouldn't be getting credit towards a degree.
Right, you're just auditing the courses. You're learning some information.
Right.
I liken it to stick in the great books on tape and listen to the same thing.
Yeah.
It just happens to be a different methodology of learning.
Now, you were saying earlier that some of your online work is done via Skype, which is something I hadn't really thought about, but that sounds pretty interesting. So it's like a professor and a student like on the same screen, just like you're Skyping or
exactly. What we can do is we can either do it in one big location where we put the class in one room and the professor, for instance, we have a wonderful professor who happened to move to Arizona and we weren't willing to give her up. So she teaches her course at night via Skype. And in that case, the students sit in one big room, we Skype them in, she Skypes in, it's just, she's not right there, but in essence, she is right there.
Wow, that's amazing.
The other thing is that there are courses where there are only maybe 5 or 6 students in the course, and they can log on from wherever they are. They log on to a central bank, and then you could be at home in Connecticut, you could be up in Burlington, you could be wherever. You can log in, and all 6 or 7 of you can act together. And so that's how we, that kind of technology, Skype or anywhere, it actually started back with the old businesses where they wanted to do conferences, and they had people all over the country or all over the world, and it allowed them to have really interaction via technology, and it's extended into the classroom.
And that sort of gets around one of the problems of online education, which is identity fraud, I guess, for lack of a better term. That I understand one of the issues is colleges want to be sure that the person at the other end of the wire is the actual student who's registered for the class.
Right. You will. I mean, there's
dodge around that one.
It is hard, and it's it comes down to the integrity of the systems. It's also come down to what mechanisms the online has set up in order to create. I mean, now they can tell what IP address you're coming in from and things like that, so they can do it. One of the courses that I know that my controller took, that the exams were not online. The exams were physical, and quote unquote, I had to monitor the exam. So the idea is that that's how they protect their side. All the coursework was done online, but the exam was done in the presence of somebody, and in theory, they just put one more segment in there to help keep the integrity of the online course.
Okay. Well, is there anything we didn't cover about the school that you feel like you'd like folks to know, or maybe to clear up any kind of what you might think is a misconception or misperception of the school, or whatever? I mean, we talked about a lot of the major programs that you offer and the number of schools. I mean, if someone who happens to hear this and might be interested in going to SVC, what will be their first step? Do they contact the admissions office, or?
The admissions office, we do. I mean, obviously, if they are a student at one of the local high schools, our admissions is in touch with all the local high schools all the time. We work with their guidance counselors, with their admissions, staff there. For us, it's really people getting to know us as who we are now, and not what we may have been 10, 20, 40, 50 years ago. Right. I mean, it's a new world. It's a new institution. It's a very vibrant institution. I mean, the fact that President Groves got picked by the administration to come down to D.C. Now, we're the little school on the hill, and our president becomes a senior policy advisor to the current administration.
That's a big deal.
That's monumental.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't happen.
Right.
So, I mean, what has happened is that because of the programs we are doing down there, we are getting national attention. One of our big ones that is really, it's been written about, it's been copied, is we have what we call pipeline to partnerships, where we go to and we work with sending institutions. Right now we have 5. There are 4 within the New York City area, and there's the Boys and Girls Club out of Schenectady. We allow them to pick the students. They pick 5 to 7 students that we will take. We give them a rubric. You got to meet certain parameters, but the idea is Instead of our admissions crew going down and really picking the kids, we want you to tell us, you know who we are, you know what we can do. You tell us a kid that can work here. You tell somebody that's got their fire in their belly that really wants to work with us. And so they send them up. This is our second year we've done it. We had 18 last year. 17 of them are coming back. We only lost one. Wow. And for that vulnerable student population to only lose one doesn't happen.
Not bad.
And it's because what we've done is we've designed programs around them. There's a mentorship program that's built into it. They act as a cohort, as a group. So there's a lot of support services built around it so that they can survive. What we have learned is that we've taken that and we've expanded out into our whole population. So we're changing certain things as to how our faculty advisors start translating into mentors for our students. How we used to have a course, A&P, Anatomy and Physiology, which we laugh was it was supposed to be the gateway into the nursing, radiology, that world. Well, it turned into a gatekeeping course. 70% of the kids couldn't pass it. All right, so it didn't do us any good. So what we did is we took a step back and said, okay, how can we redesign this course? So instead of teaching it over one semester, we stretched it over 2. And then we told the students, okay, now that we've basically put you a half a semester behind, in order to catch up, the course that you need to take in the summer, you can come and you can take for free. So when you come back in the fall, you're back on track. We turned that course into, now it's a 70+% pass rate. And it was only because we changed the delivery of the information. And that's who we are now. We laugh. If it doesn't work, we jettison it. And we find something that does work. Right. You know, we're nimble. We've got a unbelievable faculty and staff down there right now that really deeply care for the students. And they are willing to look at how they do things and change what they do in order for students to succeed and get their degree. Because that's the goal. The goal is to get your degree.
And get a job.
Yeah. I mean, you know, if you can't get, you know, it doesn't do us any good to get you in the front door if we can't get you out the back door. You know, and that's the world.
All right. Well, Jim, thank you so much for taking the time to tell us a little about Southern Vermont College and for being here with us at GNAT TV today. And it's been a real pleasure having you on the show.
I appreciate it.
And a real pleasure having all of you watching us with us today. Again, my name's Andrew McKeever, and this has been The Front Page. And thanks for watching today. And we'll see you the next time. Have a great day.